the bookshop, it's the bookshop, it's the bookshop of Beverly Farms.
Howdy, everybody. It is Sam Feifel, your host of your favorite little podcast about books, reading, literature, bookstores, all things awesome, John Updike's Ghost. And as always, I am here with the co-owner of the bookshop of Beverly Farms, my sister, and someone who really wears a smock well, Hannah Harlow. How are you doing, Hannah?
So great. What a beautiful Monday morning it is here in the bookstore with freshly paved streets out front.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Freshly paved. I see there's a lot of books behind you. It must be the season for new releases coming hot and heavy.
Yes, tomorrow is October 1st. Beginning of the month, Tuesdays are always big release days. Tomorrow, just because it's October, it's like ridiculous. It's ridiculous around here every Tuesday. I think people are starting to get mad at me who work for us.
There are a lot of boxes back there. Sometimes it can be difficult to navigate.
It can. We've cleared out all the boxes, actually. It's feeling really good and, cleaned out back here aside from all the books on the shelves.
Right.
There are a lot. People should come shop we
need to get rid of some of these books.
Well, it'd be good. But also the idea was, that these will sort of last us, into the holiday season a little bit.
Oh, wow. Because
we're prepared.
We have
so
all these
prepped.
Halloween releases, and then there's all of the Christmas releases, and then people, for some reason, release books in January. Why? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm actually, one of my books is a January 7 release, I realize now that I read it.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Okay.
A little bit irrelevant, but whatever.
You're not going to save it?
I'm going to keep doing it because I would like to just prove that we put no thought whatsoever into the books that we read and talk about on our podcast. Are we trying to sell books? No, because on my agenda is The Lodge, a ski-related romance that releases on January 7th.
Exciting.
A graphic novel called Factory Summers, which is a very obscure book about a dude who lives in Quebec and worked at a paper mill for summers.
Ooh, awesome. Yes.
And then Peter Heller's The River, which is a fantastic book, but came out some time ago.
A few years ago.
Yeah. And so is, only sort of mildly relevant to the current discourse. What is on your agenda?
My agenda, I have 2 fresh releases. Actually, you're welcome.
Good job.
The first is called Full Speed to a Crash Landing by Beth Revis.
That's quite a long title.
For a very short book, which is good. And my second book is Death at the Sign of the Rook by Kate Atkinson.
Oh, Kate Atkinson. Yes, she's very popular.
Yeah, I'm realizing, I could add a third if we want, because I have a November book I didn't talk about last time.
Okay, well, let's just get started because who knows who might walk into the bookshop since no one else is working today. Why don't we start with Factory Summers? This is a birthday present from my daughter who lives in Canada. Mm-hmm. But it's not overly Canadian. It's published by Drawn and Quarterly, which is, very big graphic novel publisher. So it's not super, super obscure. But this is the story. The guy who wrote it is Guy Delisle, who I think is pretty famous in the graphic novel world, maybe.
Sure. Let's go with that.
I don't know. It seems it's translated from the French, so perhaps it's more obscure than I thought.
Perhaps it is more Canadian than you thought.
Yeah, Helge Dotcher and Rob Aspinall translated this. So It was originally in French. Really not a lot happens. It's a very charming story of a dude who's really going nowhere, wants to be an animator. And in the summers between high school and college, he works at the paper factory where his father is an engineer and has to do overnight shifts with the local townies. It's exactly what you'd think. I am, a literary and somewhat woke guy, and I am, among the blue collar workers. He is both blue collar and not, fish out of water. you learn a little bit about the history of paper making and what a miserable job it would be to make paper. Lots
Do
of
you think that
sweating.
paper mill still exists?
I think so. Yeah, no, I think it's, yeah, I'm pretty sure that the paper mill still exists.
My
Doesn't
first
say
thing,
anything about it not doing that.
yeah, my first thought about paper mills, because there was a paper mill that in the town, we used to drive through on our way to Maine every summer to
Oh,
go to
yeah.
the lake.
In
And we
June.
would,
Yes.
and like, we would stop for some reason at like that McDonald's and we would like, it was so stinky.
Yes, they've gotten a lot of the sulfur smell out of the paper making industry. Thank
So it's
goodness for the
not
people
as
of
much of a
Maine.
thing. Okay.
It's not as
great.
much of a thing. There's still lots of, paper factories all around Maine, but they're mostly, they make specialized papers. They're
Mhm.
smaller, shorter staffed. They get converted to make like, chipboard and that sort of thing. Most of like the making paper is now in Canada, probably at factories like this. It's partly story about, colonialism. The Brits built this in Canada, obviously, which they did not own. Not a lot of talk about, indigenous impact, I have to say.
Could have
Lots
done
of,
with a bit more. Yeah.
yeah, like, the guy doesn't speak English well enough to like go to the animation college he wants to go to. So it's like a little bit of like, the Quebecois French and how they try to hold on to that culture a little bit. It's kind of all over the place. I don't think he's actually the best storyteller necessarily.
How is the animation? You're the
No, I thought the drawings are great.
the
Right?
drawings.
Like, he's a good visual storyteller. Certainly, there's lots of little visual jokes, and you do get a good feel for what it's just like a slice of life story.
Yeah. There's
That's why
not like an arc. There's not like I learned this.
No, it's like, hey, here's what I did on a couple of summer vacations, and I drew about it. There's a little bit of like, there's an arc with the dad a little bit. The dad is a very sad character. He's like, they're divorced. And so the dad lives by himself and he's become a compulsive talker. So the best scenes are where like the kid goes to visit his dad and his dad just like talks at him. And so you just have like these talk bubbles that like crowd him out and then he just ends up weeping. Can't have a conversation with his dad. So,
okay.
I like it's very enjoyable. It was a couple of 2 hours well spent. Thank you, Ruby Jane. Her goal was to find a book I had not read.
Yeah. It's always tough to buy booksellers' books.
Right. But it's a good, it's a good palate cleanser. I think mostly is like reminding people that graphic novels are not just for disaffected teenagers. It's a nice sort of change of pace for reading,
Nice. I've no segue into Full Speed to a Crash Landing by Beth Revis. It is a novella, the start of a trilogy.
Okay.
And it's in the sci-fi genre.
Yeah.
So it opens with a woman whose ship the side has been blown apart and she's running low on oxygen and she's put out a distress call. And she can see that there's a ship nearby and it's taking a really long time for that ship to answer her distress call. So she's like down to her last bit of oxygen when they finally arrive and she's rescued. And she goes on this ship and, you discover she's a looter. That's like her job. She just goes around to like, abandoned ships or crashed ships on random planets.
Salvager.
Yep.
Looter
and so
implies like criminal. Salvager is a legit profession. Like,
yeah, she's a bit of both.
Okay. I see.
Yes.
Morally ambiguous.
Yeah, she is morally ambiguous. So it turns out there's another ship crashed on the planet below that she's been looting, not salvaging. And the ship that has arrived is like much bigger, much more powerful, like seemingly government backed, like they have a lot of resources and they're very suspicious of her. But she's like, I think you need my help because they're trying to get this specific thing. And it's like on the edge of a cliff over a river of lava. And she has a special jetpack that could withstand that heat that they don't have. So she's like, I think you need me. So they kind of, strike a bargain where she's going to help them get the thing they need.
In exchange for her freedom, for her to go
Yeah, she'll get her freedom and a bunch of money or so. I don't know.
Okay.
And like some good food. I don't know. She's very into eating tasty food.
I
But
guess
it's
you
like,
would be if you lived in
you know,
space.
and then one of the guys on the ship is like pretty hot. So there's like some low level romance happening, you know, just kind of like, oh, he's hot. She's hot.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, no actual, like, it's not actually spicy or anything, but it's like, she's very sarcastic and there's a lot of good, like, you know, just sarcastic banter. Yeah. It's just fun. It's super fun. And it's like turns into kind of a heist story that's like really fast and enjoyable. Like it's just a nice, quick read.
Yeah. Sounds good. Why is it a trilogy?
So I believe in the next book, like the hot guy and the main character are going to like buddy up and, you know, have more missions together.
Heisty stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. They work really well together.
A little bit Murderbot in that it's like contemporary dialogue and like charming people. It just happens to be in space.
Yeah. And it's like a really, you know, just like a mission, like you could read it as a one-off. You don't have to read it as like, I need to read the whole trilogy.
Right,
like
what the whole universe is and why we're having all this.
They complete a mission, right? Like there's nothing lingering actually. So like reading book 2, you're just like, oh, I really like these characters.
It's more
Let's see
like
what
a
they're
detective
next.
series than a trilogy.
Yeah, but it's very Murderbot without the high body count, you know, whatever.
Oh,
like,
not a lot of people dying. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's super fun.
All right.
Glad to discover it.
Nice. Well, also not full of anybody dying is The Lodge by Kayla Olson.
Okay.
And I picked this up because I'm trying to convince what remains of Ski Magazine to let me start a ski-related books column.
Yes, there's so few good ones.
Right. Well, there's not that many good ones, but also there does seem to be a trend where like skiing is a thing in books now. Like we're going to have ski-related books. I don't know why. It's like, you know.
I say that, but you're right. There are a bunch of like, they're coming. And there have been a couple in the past.
Right.
Fiction
I don't know
and nonfiction.
Why this trend is happening, but like skiing is apparently, I mean, it's a dying industry in sport, but it's like mainstream culture has repicked up. In the 80s, it was hot dog and lots of like extreme stuff in the 90s. And now skiing has become rich people cozy is what is my whole theory. Right. So it was like, you know, extreme and like the very kid focused, but now the only people that can afford to do it anymore are like boomers and rich people. Mm-hmm. And so the books tend to be about those people. And so the story here it's hilarious for New Englanders, particularly because it's supposedly set at this lodge at the base of Stowe, right? So,
oh boy.
Like if you've been to Stowe, you're like, oh, I'll recognize it. You will not recognize anything. Like I don't think this person
like they've never been to Stowe.
I don't think they've been to Vermont. Like, you know, it's like it's just like what I like about it is like the whole thing is imaginary, right? Like in some cases, you read books because you get all the gritty inside details of what that little industry is like. In this one, no, it is not like that. It is. What if a person who lived in New York City imagined something happening in like a snow globe of skiing and Vermont? Oh my God. So it's just hilarious. All the ski stuff is so funny. And so the basic plot is that the woman, central character, first person narrator, is a celebrity journalist. And she is she's ghostwriting the memoir of like the Harry Styles, right? So it's a boy band that has broken up, and it's like the lead guy who is a big star. Not Harry Styles really, because this guy's solo album didn't hit that much, and he's mostly just like an influencer. Like he didn't get to be like Harry Styles' solo career, but like it was like Lance Bass or somebody, you know, like whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Right? You don't even know who Lance Bass is.
Of course I do. Yeah. I was not pretending. I was just saying, good analogy. Good job.
Exactly. Right. So to finish this memoir, Sebastian Green, the Lance Bass in question, has given her his penthouse at the lodge at the base of Stowe Mountain for a month for her to just like grind on this book, right?
Yes.
And guess who lives next door? Oh, a very hot ski instructor who also lives in a penthouse, because ski instructors live in penthouses.
Why would a ski instructor live in a penthouse?
Well, we do find out he's friends with the owners of the lodge, so that's what explains it. And he is.
They would give him the most expensive room for free,
and he's widely available for lessons. Oh, hey, would you like a lesson at 3:00 tomorrow? Just come on down. I'll have it. And we'll do a little personal lesson. It's no problem. At one point, they schedule a lesson for 5:00.
Interesting.
Which I have never seen a ski mountain that's open later than 4:00, but they are skiing at 5:00. And then there's
Does Stowe have night skiing?
No, there's no way that could happen. And there's lots of like walking down to the cafe to work and to get a latte or whatever. And like the whole thing, like it is nothing like skiing. You know, like there's also a gondola at Stowe now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you can take it up to this awesome place that you can overlook.
Why didn't they just like make up a mountain?
I don't know. She called us. I thought
like,
they were. It's like the place is fake. It's like Maple Lodge, but then they're like, and then all of a sudden
they're like, that's Stowe.
And I was like, it should be like Sunshine Peak or whatever, you know, but it's not. And so the whole rest of the plot is just as ridiculous. Like, I won't give away the plot because it's kind of fun. Like, I've decided I like these books because they're so ridiculous. It's like watching SpongeBob SquarePants or something. You're like, oh, that's the way it works. Okay, great. You know? Yeah. And like, you know, there's all kinds of celebrity culture stuff. And, you know, so in the acknowledgement, it's the type of book where the acknowledgements are like 15 pages. It's like, oh, I guess you have a lot of people to thank here. And in the acknowledgement, she says that, you know, so-and-so encouraged her to write the coziest book ever. So there is a little bit of romance, like, you know, the ski instructor and the celebrity journalist who are in their 20s somehow. They do get together and is a very passionate romance, but they don't bang. There's just like lots of like
petting or whatever.
And she could feel everything between the thin layers of clothing.
The thin ski layers.
It's just amazing. Lots of sitting on laps, lots of, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
But I read the hell out of it. I enjoyed it.
Sounds really fun.
It was very entertaining. I think especially I would love to write a review of this for Ski Magazine. So Sam Berman, my editor, if you're listening, take this pitch. Stop ignoring my email.
So, you know, I was at this trade show a few weeks ago for book sellers, and I picked up a galley of a book called Bluebird Day by Megan Tatey. And this is it comes out December 3rd. So if you want to pitch, like, I will review a couple.
Yeah, exactly. December 3rd makes sense. If I was releasing a ski book, December 3rd is when I would release it, not January 7th, which is when this is released.
Right. Yeah. So this one is about mother-daughter skiing legends who get snowed in at a Swiss village.
That sounds terrific. Yes.
Right?
It would be made
so it's more about, it sounds
legends.
like a more mother-daughter working on their relationship, but like, you know.
Yeah. Give me some of that action. Yeah. What was it John Updike? No, not, John Irving. John Irving. The chairlift. It was so long I couldn't open it because it scared me.
It was so funny. So the author Megan Tatey was at this trade show, and I was like, "Oh my god, I love there aren't enough books about skiing. Like, I love ski books. Like, so excited to read this." And she's like, "Yeah, I don't know of any." And I was like, "Well, you know, John Irving's The Chairlift," and she was like, "What's that?" And I was like,
"What?
You wrote a book about skiing and you didn't do any."
I don't know. There's actually a lot of ski books.
Yeah, there are.
Like every couple weeks, I see a new one come out. So
I know. I'm like, there aren't that enough, but like, actually, there are probably plenty. I don't know.
I mean, we don't need that many ski books, probably.
Right. But I'm happy to hear about this one.
Yeah. What is your next book?
My next book is Death at the Sign of the Rook by Kate Atkinson.
Right. Yes.
You know, Kate Atkinson is a celebrated British author. Who's written many books. She has a series of mystery books about Jackson Brodie, who's the main character. And this is a Jackson Brodie book. Yes. Which I think it's been a while since a Jackson Brodie book came out. I read the first one like many years ago, and then I haven't read any of the others. But it does not matter. Like, you know, there's some references to like things Jackson Brodie has done in the past, which I'm just kind of like, oh, who cares?
Like that time in Munich where
whatever happened.
Yeah.
It's mostly irrelevant. So he is in his 70s now. And
Oh, wow.
he's a private investigator. And is pretty, a lot of cases have dried up, but he gets this case, a brother and sister whose mother has just died.
Was she playing pickleball?
She was not playing pickleball. Yeah, sorry.
Whenever I think of 70-year-old men now, I just think of dad playing pickleball. I feel like
was Jackson Brodie playing pickleball? I thought you meant the woman who died. I was like, geez. Jackson Brodie was not. He bought himself a new Land Rover, beast of a car, and was feeling very proud of himself.
Gotcha. Right.
Which does I was really psyched that this car came into play later in the book, because I was kind of like, oh my God, we're just making fun of him for buying this ridiculous car. But he turns very useful later.
Oh, he needed the Land Rover. Yeah.
He did need the Land Rover. He was vindicated. Everyone makes fun of him. So the brother and sister, their mom has just died, and she had not much of value except for this one painting that they suspected was a Renaissance painting. But they'd never had it valued, and they believe the caretaker who was taking care of their mother at the end of her life has run off with the painting. The painting has disappeared.
Did he kill the woman as well, or just steal the painting?
Jackson does wonder if there was foul play in the death, but
we're trying to find the painting.
We're just really trying to find the painting.
Right.
I'm not really sure. And then Kate Atkinson introduces a bunch of other storylines and characters of other people who have had paintings stolen in similar fashion.
Oh,
so then the question is it the same woman stealing all these paintings?
Aha.
So there were some timeline things where I was like, wait, when is this happening? Because you kind of go back in time to hear about this other painting being stolen from this manor house in England. Anyway, there is a lot. So you open with kind of a preview, like, oh, there's going to be this murder mystery, in scene, play at a manor house. But you need a lot of build up. But then you come back to it at the end. So there's a lot of build up. In the last quarter of the book, you're back at this manor house.
Back at the manor house.
You're snowed in.
Oh, we're snowed in.
Yep. And there are some dead bodies, real dead bodies.
More dead bodies.
But then also there's play being put on, an experience, right? An experiential, murder mystery.
Murder mystery dinner. Yeah.
But
they're actual people die.
But there are actually some dead bodies.
So it's just like a Agatha Christie ripoff, basically.
Yes. So there is an homage
Not ripoff, homage.
Yes. To Agatha Christie. I found it super enjoyable. There's a ton of good dry wit. I was laughing out loud at parts. And there are also a lot of people who just think really terrible thoughts about their fellow characters, so it's just a little bit dark, but funny.
Yeah, mean-spirited people can be funny. Yes.
Yes. So there's a lot of that. And I have no idea how it was all going to resolve.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. I really liked it.
Great. Did you hear about the people who found a Rembrandt in their attic in Maine and then auctioned it off for $1.3 million? And then after they sold it for $1.3 million, they were like, well, we don't really know it was painted by Rembrandt, but it looks like his style.
No.
Yeah. I read about it in the Port of the Press Herald. The auctioneer was like, I'm pretty sure it's a Rembrandt.
Well, maybe that was why it was only 1.3. Because I would think that would go for a lot more.
Yeah, maybe that.
And so they didn't actually have the provenance or whatever.
Right. But yeah, that's the whole thing. He was like, yeah, it looks like a Rembrandt.
That's hilarious.
$1.3 million, I guess.
Close enough.
Roll the dice on this one, guys. It might just be a waste of $1.3 million.
So there's a lot. I feel like there are a lot of people who like this, art heist kind of story. I mean, it's not like a heist, but it's art theft.
Yeah, it's like crime in the art world. Then you get to talk about artsy stuff. It allows you to have this kind of erudite.
There's a lot of that in there, but not too much. That's not the whole story. There's a lot of.
Did he really use that burnt ochre? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Speaking of hyper specific things,
Mm-hmm.
the river, right? I know it's been like a little bit of a Peter Heller, fanboy summer, exactly. But
You were curious. I got you curious. You
well,
were like,
I know
how good
you're
is
like
he?
talking about how amazing this dude is, and so I'm like, okay. I thought he was. I don't know what. I'm not 100% sure what I thought he was.
I guess I didn't
thought.
do a good job.
Well, no, I thought. I guess I thought it was more like Oprah-y, like more.
Oprah-y?
Yeah, like everybody's talking about their feelings or something.
Oh,
Like
Jesus.
I don't know. There's something. I had him in like a different category. I don't know what it was. Like I don't know, like Nicholas Sparksy or something.
Oh
like
my God, what?
I don't
I'm
know.
wildly offended.
Well, just I mean, before you were telling me all that,
Oh,
like it was just like the Peter Heller was in that box in my brain before you were like, oh, he's so amazing and just the most beautiful prose. And I was like, really? I thought there was like Nicholas Sparks. Like what? So
oh my
I
God.
had to go investigate what it was all about. And we have the original hardcover release from 2019 of The River. And it's actually a beautiful book. Really nice.
You just had that on your shelf?
Yeah.
It's been on your shelf since 2019.
Well, Kristen read it or whatever.
I think this is Nicholas Sparks-esque.
Kristen read it. I don't know. Like we don't read the same books really. So
I'm dying. I'm totally dying.
But you're not that you need me to validate your description, but he is just an amazing prose stylist. Like just incredible sentences, like rich texture. It is beautiful. Clearly, his specialty is like nature, right? So you do have to like give a shit about nature, I guess.
You do.
But like, so the plot of The River is these two boys who are like juniors at Dartmouth College, are adventure seekers, and they grew up, one in New Hampshire and one in Vermont and one in Montana. And they're both just, hardcore outdoorsmen. They know how to fish and canoe and, live in the woods. And that's what their whole upbringing is, and they're best friends. And they're going down the river and, shady stuff happens. But the big thing is like this looming forest fire that they're sort of, trying to make sure they don't get killed by. And, just.
It puts some pressure on the action.
Just everything, like it's like this great looming threat. And he does such a good job of like having it creep toward them and have the like tension increase. And it's a really special story in the way that he can make like, one of my biggest problems with storytelling nowadays is everything is like super high stakes, super grand scale, like our head of the UN is going to blow up with a nuclear bomb or, like there's always global. And this is just such a tiny little story, but the stakes are enormous. And you're just so invested in these kids and like, oh my God, how are they going to get out of this? And are they going to save this person? And, and it's like the tension is incredible. And also, like you're saying, like it makes you care about, fishing and, a dauber and a mudfly and all this crap. Like,
the language of it. Right. But it's so beautiful.
Right. No, it's like this really tactile, immediate, fully realized world. Like you believe everything, you're on the river with them, like you can see the trees, what this moose looks like. The interpersonal interaction between the boys too is so good. It's just such a story about like male friendship and the choices you have to make and all the ways that you're allowed to interact with one each other as 20-year-old boy friends and like think you know a guy until we're in the deep shit.
It's so interesting hearing you talk about it because I just read Burn, which is it's like the same. You're explaining this book and I'm like, oh, that's the same as Burn, except it's in Maine with secessionists and the guys are older. Like, it's like it's the friendship 20 years later or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Is it the same guys?
No, it's one of the same guys is in The Guide, which is the first one I read earlier in the summer.
Right. Oh, shoot. So I have like 50 more pages in this book. I think now I know how it ends and I was hoping that wasn't going to happen. Now I don't even want to know what happened. I might not finish it.
No, you have to finish it.
I mean, it's really good. I'm going to read all the rest of his stuff. It's like, I think anybody who's just in outdoors, like, I was just up in Baxter State Park a couple weeks back, and it just brings you to the grandeur of nature in a way that very few people can pull off. So many people, they just glamorize it, or, like, the thing is that nature is both amazing and beautiful and scary and dangerous. And if you don't respect the scary and dangerous part, the beautiful stuff kills you.
Yeah.
And it's just such a good job of explaining that. I was clearly this guy is legit. He must spend
He's
a lot
so
of
legit.
Outdoors,
Yeah, he is so legit. That's it.
Yeah. Are there going to be any Peter Heller books at the Boozy Book Fair on Friday, October 4th, which is going to be the day after this podcast hits your ear holes?
Right. There could be Burn. We have a bunch of Burn we could bring.
We should bring some Burn. I feel like that's a great, if you're like a beer dude. Oh, there's someone in the store?
There's someone in the store.
Are they going to come to the Boozy Book Fair on Friday?
I don't know. We'll ask them.
Where is it? It's True North Brewery in Ipswich.
That's right.
This customer who's asking Hannah things is making this podcast come to an end. So we'll see you, if not at the Boozy Book Fair, next time online. Bye.
Bye, everyone.